Parashat Zechor. As I explained earlier, that Parashat Zechor we always read before Purim, the Shabbos before Purim. Where is the source to it? Where is the source that we have to read Parashat Zechor? So the source to it comes from Sefer Dvarim, Parashat Ki Titze, chapter 25, verse 17 and verse 18, and there it says, Zechor et asher asa lecha Amalek. Remember what Amalek done to you. בצאתך בארץ מצרים, that means בצאתכם מארץ מצרים, that means you leave the Egypt, okay, אשר קרעך בדרך, ויזנב בך כל הנחשלים אחריך, ואתה עייף ויגע ולא ירא אלוקים. That means that Amalek came and fights with the children of Israel. We'll explain shortly everything. Where is the source that we're learning that we have to read this Parashat Zechor before Purim? So the source to it comes from the Gemara in the Gemara in Masechet Megillah, page 29, folio 2. Okay, Megillah, folio 29, folio 2. Hazal constitute for the children of Israel to read the Shabbos before Purim, Parashat Zechor, that we mentioned earlier. Hazal in the Gemara in Masechet Ta'anit now. Hazal in the Gemara in Masechet Ta'anit, explaining the reason that we have to read Parashat Zechor. And they explain before the festival of Purim, we have to read Parashat Zechor. Why? To connect the Gezeira, the decree of Haman HaRasha, okay, during the time of the Hashverosh, to kill, to destroy, to annihilate every Jew in 127 countries that the Hashverosh was in charge. Okay, what's the connection? Because Haman HaRasha was from descendants of Amalek. Haman HaAgagi, that he was from the Zera of Haman Hagag. Hagag was the Melech of Amalek, the king of Amalek. So we have to read about it before Purim. The same like the miracle that happened to us with Haman, please God, will happen to us soon in this Purim with the Amalekim that we have in our generation. But Hazal explaining in Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer in chapter 43, listen to that. Hazal explained what exactly happened with Amalek when he came to attack to the Jewish people in a wilderness. Hazal explained that the Jewish people was inside the cloud of glory and no one actually can touch him. So Amalek saw that he cannot actually harm the Jewish people that inside the cloud of glory. Outside the cloud of glory was certain people, those that was unpure, for whatever reason make them unpure. Those that most of them, not most, quite a bit of them from the Shevet of Dan that was idol worshippers. And that's who Amalek attack. He can attack only those that doesn't have protection. He can attack the weaker. He can attack those that, not the youngster. ויזנב בך הנחשלים. What it mean הנחשלים? Those that weak, those that have no opportunity to defend themselves. That's who Amalek attack. And Hazal tell us something very interesting that I would like to share with you. And I saw it from the Kli Yakar. I would like to explain what is Amalek. What is the character trait of Amalek? And the Kli Yakar, no, it's not the Kli Yakar. I think that's, no, it's Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim. Sorry, my mistake. Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim, he born in the city of Kellen in Germany 756 years ago. And in his commentary on the Torah, on Sefer Beshalach in chapter 17, verse he in verse 14, look what it says. I'm going to read from the Torah and then I will explain. ויאמר אדוני אל משה, כתוב זאת זיכרון בספר, ושים באוזני יהושע, כי מחו אמחה את זכר עמלק מתחת השמיים. Here, הקדוש ברוך הוא said to Moshe, Rabbeinu, write it in a book of memory, okay, and put it in the ears of Yeshua, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will annihilate the descendants of Amalek from earth. Pshat of the dvarim. Come Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim, and he explains something extraordinary. And he explained like this. He said that if you take the words here that it say here, look what it said. Zot zikaron basefer vesim. He said if you take those 4 words, the acronym, sorry, the acronym of the word zikaron is Zain. The acronym of Zot Zain. Sefer is Bet. Vesim Vav. He say you get the word zvuv. Zvuv, it's mean a fly. He say, what's the character trait of a fly? Where do you find fly? You find usually fly in dirty places, unhygiene places, unpure places. The fly is unhygienic. Where do you find them? If people have infection, they're always there. They're like always nagging, you know, they never leave you. He said that's the character trait of Amalek. Amalek can attack those that doesn't have protection, those that suffer, those that they're unpure, those that hygienically, okay, when I say hygienically, not clean. He come to tell you that's the character trait of Amalek. Amalek have no mercy. Amalek is like a fly. You can find them always in a garbage. You can find them always in dirty places. He said, this is the character trait of Amalek. Rabota, if we look what's happened on the 7th of October, who did they attack? They attacked men, women, elderly, kids that wasn't protected, didn't have any protection. Where did you find it? Where did you find Amalek? In Gaza. If you look at Gaza, how's it look? Full of wolves. That's where they come from. And that's where they belong. And Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this Purim will show us a great miracle to get rid of the descendants of Amalek. And now we can understand why this Shabbos and some of the poskim that you have to read Parashat Amalek, that the reading of Parashat Amalek is from the Oraita, from the Torah. You have to read it. So this Shabbos, Be'ezrat Hashem, we read Parashat Zachor. So Parashat Zachor, okay, remind us about the miracle before that happened with, what his name, with our enemy Haman HaRasha, that was from the descendants of Amalek. And now, as I promised, we're going to start the Megillat Esther. We're going to do commentary on Megillat Esther. But before, I would like to do some introduction for us to understand when is the miracle of Purim happen. A little bit about why is it called Megillat Esther. How long Haman was in power. So בעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח והשם עלינו ברחמיו ירוויח. The miracle of Purim happened 2,394 years ago. It spread over 9 years. The miracle of Purim, the story of Purim, spread over 9 years ago. And the main miracle happened on the 3rd year of the king Ahasuerus, after he became a king on the 3rd year. Just for general knowledge, the miracle of Purim happened 250 years plus minus before the miracle of Hanukkah. Just for us to understand what happened. Bet HaMikdash, the first Bet HaMikdash that been built by Shlomo HaMelech, been destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon. After the kingdom of Babylon fall in the hand of Koresh. Okay, Koresh was the king of Persia. And he given a permission to the Jewish people to start leaving Babylon, to go to Eretz Israel, to go to the land of Eretz Israel, and to start to build Bet HaMikdash. But what happened? After 3 years from that he given us the okay to go, that people can go back to Eretz Israel, he been killed. During a war, he been killed. After that become the king Kamibaz. Kamibaz, according to one opinion, not everyone agreed to it, and I have to admit, not everyone agreed to it, that Kamibaz was Ahashverosh. Some people say no, Ahashverosh wasn't from a royal family at all. We'll explain that in the end. And there was a small group that in the top of them stood Shimshi HaSofer. Shimshi HaSofer was the son, he was a writer. Shimshi, that was his name, he was a writer. He was the son of Haman Rasha. And him and a small group managed to convince Kamibaz to stop the building of the second Bet HaMikdash. That means that they started to build and suddenly they stopped it. Okay? And they managed to stop the building of Bet HaMikdash for 18 years. Rabotai, for 18 years, they stopped the building of Bet HaMikdash. After 70 years from the first destruction, in a time of Dariavish, okay, King Dariavish, they start building again the Bet HaMikdash, the second Bet HaMikdash, the second temple. Some opinions say that he was the son of Esther Malka. Not everyone agreed to it. Megillat Esther, it's called Megillat Esther. Why? Many of the Mefarshim ask, and that's the question actually of Rabbeinu Ari HaKadosh, Rabbi Yitzhak Luria Ashkenazi, that born in Jerusalem 491 years ago. And he asked, why is it called Megillat Esther? Why doesn't call Megillat Mordechai Esther? Why doesn't call Megillat Ahashverosh? Why did they call Megillat Esther? Why did they call it only Megillat Esther? So he explained, if you look at the name Esther, it's referring that that's the scroll of hidiness. What does it mean? Sorry. Explain Ari HaKadosh. If you look at the name, Keshma Keni, he explained that if you look at the word that it's a Megillat Esther, it's referring that the Megillat Esther revealing to us. That's how the Ari HaKadosh explained in Sha'ar HaKavanot, at the beginning of Sha'ar HaKavanot in Drush Purim, the beginning of Drush Purim, when it speaks about Purim, he explained that Megillat Esther revealed to us what was hiding. What happened during the time, that period of 9 years? What happened? What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the miracle that HaKadosh Baruch Hu done for us? How that he performed the miracle? That's why it's called Megillat Esther. Haman Rasha. We all think that Haman Rasha was in power for at least 9 years. Not at all. Rabotai. Haman Rasha, and I saw it, and it's brought in a book, Manot Levy. Manot Levy, it's a book that's been written by Rabbi Shlomo Halevi Al-Kabetz. Okay, he born in a city of Saloniki in Greece. He born 520 years ago. He wrote a book, Menot Levi. He have a commentary on the Torah, and he have a commentary also on Megillat Esther there. By the way, he wrote for us the famous song that we sing at Friday night, Lecha Dodi. And he wrote like this. He said that Haman HaRasha was in power only for 70 days. Look how much chaos he caused in 70 days. 70 days, work it out, it's 2 months and 10 days. Look what Haman HaRasha, what Amalek can do in such a short time. That he managed to convince Ahashverosh. He managed to convince Ahashverosh, number one, to kill Vashti. Managed Ahashverosh to kill all the Jewish people, all in 70 days. Said the Mefarshim, how do you get to it that Ahashverosh, that Haman was only 70 days, one of the main, he was in power only for 70 days. How do you work it out? So I saw a commentary, not from Anota Levy. I'm explaining it's not from Anota Levy. I saw it somewhere else. That it say, if you look from the moment that the name Haman mentioned until the last time that is mentioned in the Megillah, you'll see 70 verses, exactly 70 verses, to show you that he was really in power, and he had so much power only for 70 days. That's introduction quickly to the Megillat Esther, and now Be'ezrat Hashem will start. I would like to start, because we done quite a bit on verse 1, we explain it. I would like to start with verse 3. And in verse 3, the Megillah speak about the feast that Mr. Ahashverosh done. We'll read it, and then our Baal Koreh will read. And look what it says in verse 3. בשנת 3 למולכו, עשה משתה לכל שריו ועבדיו חיל פרס ומדי, הפרטמים ושרי המדינות לפניו.
In the 3rd year of his reign, this is Ahashverosh, he made a feast for all his officials and his servants, the army of Persia and Media, the nobles and officials of the provinces being present.
Okay. The question is, Ahashverosh became a king, okay, 3 years ago. Ask the Mefarshim, why only after 3 years from the day that you become a king, you decide to make a feast? Let me explain a little bit what's happened here. King Ahashverosh, after he became a king, on the 3rd year after he became a king, he decided that he's going to invite all the officials, all the ministers, all the servants, okay, to where? To make a great feast. How long did the feast was, Rabotai? How many days the feast was? We'll see later on that the feast was 6 months, 180 days. But the Mefarshim ask, wait, we don't understand. Usually a king celebrates when he becomes a king, not after a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Why is Ahashverosh suddenly decide to wake up after 3 years and to make a great feast and to invite all his officials from all the 127 countries that he was in charge about, all the ministers, all the officials, to come to join the feast? What it was the Hidush here? Why Dafka after 3 years? So according to the Pshat of the Dvarim, the Mefarshim explain like this. Rabota, I'm speaking Pshat. I'm not going yet to explain it in depth. The Mefarshim explain that Ahashverosh wasn't even from the royal family at all. He wasn't a royal family. The way that he managed to become a king, there's different opinion that said that he found the treasure of Nebuchadnezzar. That means Nebuchadnezzar that took a lot of treasure when he was in control of all the world, and he sank it in a river in Babylon, and he found it. And with the money that he had, he becomes such a rich man that he can find and he buys lead to become the president of Persia, the king of Persia. He come to tell you that because he wasn't from the royal family, okay, he needed to become popular. He needed to make sure that the politician, the civilian would love him. So for 3 years, he tried to do everything to satisfy everything. But he said by the 3rd year, I need to show them that I'm going to show him like kind of a respect, and he make the feast. That's short of the dvarim. That means that here he play a political move, with his political friend to convince the normal civilian on the street how good he is. But there's another opinion that Ahasuerus, after we explained that he stopped the building of Bet HaMikdash, that was with a small group that been led by Shimshi Hasofer, the son of Haman HaRasha, Shimshi, that was a writer, that he stopped the building of Bet HaMikdash. He said to himself, listen, I need to do something to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. And according to him, he worked out that there's another 3 years for the 70 years that the Jewish people talking about, that from the destruction of the first temple to the destruction of the second temple, okay, it will be 70 years. The Mefarshim explained that the Ahasuerus wanted to see if it's right or wrong. And according to his calculation, left 3 years. And he wanted to see if Bet HaMikdash gonna be built, he can never put the Jewish people to be underneath his authority. Why? Because they're gonna have Bet HaMikdash, he can't control them. He said, but if after 3 years from now, I'm gonna wait at the 70 years, and he calculate the years wrong, he worked out that the 70 years was, according to him, on the 3rd years that he become a king. If he'll see that Bet HaMikdash not gonna be built, that means that the Chachmei Israel, the scholar people, the Hazal, the jury of the Jewish people, actually talking, excuse my language, nonsense. And he waited for 3 years. After 3 years, he saw that they're not building Bet HaMikdash. He said already the 70 years that the scholar people of the Jewish people, those Rabbonim that they talking about, passed. And Bet HaMikdash not going to be built. He said, now it's the time to make a peace, because I know that the children of Israel going to be underneath my authority, and no one can take them from me. Explain the Mefarshim. That's the reason why Ahasuerus suddenly decided after 3 years to make his feast, his big feast. Let's move to verse 7, and we see what vessel that he used in his feast. And look what it says in verse 7. והשקות בכלי זהב, כלים וכלים מכלים שונים, ויין מלכות רב, כיד המלך.
The drinks were served in golden goblets, no two goblets alike. and the royal wine in abundance, according to the bounty of the
what's
king.
happening? We have to explain here. Sorry, Jeffrey. We have to explain what's happening. In this verse, we're learning that the Ahashverosh, when he make the feast, he didn't use glass or crystal glass. No, he used gold goblet. For those gold goblet, he served what? The wine. Chazal say that the wine that he served, what it means the wine is Kiyad Melech, okay? He explained that something important happened here. When people came to the feast, he used to say to the people, listen, how old are you? A person say, I'm 50 years old. He used to give them wine that 10 years older than them. That's pshat of the dvarim, what I'm saying so far. Not only that, he'd never use vessels except gold. And every goblet was completely different from the other goblet. Rabotai, Chazal explains something extraordinary. That the vessel that the Ahashverosh used for 180 days, that's 6 months, every day, listen to that, he used to show the people that come to the feast 6 different, listen to that, 6 different treasure. Every day from the feast, work it out, 180 times 6, you're going to get 1,080 different treasures. Unbelievable. Because every day he used to reveal to them 6 different treasures that he found, that he had. Chazal explained why did he done it? To show his strength, to show his richness, to show his control. That's pshat of the dvarim. Sorry, Rabotai, there's someone. There's someone on the line, and I can hear talking. I need to mute. Okay, it's muted. Sorry, it was some noise in the background. It was difficult for me to focus. Sorry about it. The Mefarshim explained that the vessel that he made them only from goblet. And as we read, every goblet was different. Kilim mikilim shonim. That means all different vessel. And no vessel was looking like other vessel. So every day, said the Mefarshim, he used to bring different vessels. Unheard of. The wastage, the show off was beyond understanding. But we have to understand what it means, kilim, mikelim shonim. The Mefarshim explain from that he said kelim, it's a vessel, mikelim shonim, from a different vessel, not like other vessel. There's a different interpretation. Said the Mefarshim something important. He said that when Ahashverosh, or יותר נכון, Koresh, when he overtook Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian kingdom, Nebuchadnezzar took all the vessels from Bet HaMikdash. He took the clothes of the Kohen Gadol. They took many different vessels from Bet HaMikdash. Koresh took it all from whom? From Nebuchadnezzar, Melech Babel, the king of Babel. When Ahashverosh came to power, he decided that he's going to use those vessels of Bet HaMikdash. Listen to it, Rabotai. Where? On a feast. He's going to use those vessels on a feast. Say Mefarshim. From that it say kelim mikelim shonim, vessel that from different kind of vessel, that they're not like normal vessel, although that they look, it's come to tell you that in a feast, those treasures that you used to show them different vessel from Bet HaMikdash. Now, I need just to point here something. The feast that he made for the Jewish people was 100% kosher. The wine was kosher. The food was kosher. Everything was kosher. The Sanhedrin, that Mordechai, Hayehudi, was the head of the Sanhedrin, told the people not to go to the feast. They said to Mordechai, why are you saying it? All the food is kosher. All the wine is kosher. It's going to be Bishul Israel. It's going to be Pat Israel. What can be wrong? As I'll explain, that the mistake was, by the way, you know how many people gone to that feast? How many Jewish people? 18,500. That's all, from all the Jews. Come to tell you that Mordechai told them, don't join that feast. You know why? Because they're using the vessel of Bet HaMikdash. They're desecrating the vessel of Bet HaMikdash. As I'll explain, what was the second problem? That Ahashverosh dressed with the clothes of the Kohen Gadol. He took the clothes of Kohen Gadol and he was wearing them during his feast, believe it or not. Said Mordechai to the Jewish people, how can you think that you can join a feast when they're desecrating the clothes of Kohen Gadol, they're desecrating the Bet HaMikdash, they're desecrating the vessel of Bet HaMikdash, and you think that it's right to join that feast? That's Hilul Hashem. You're desecrating the name of the Almighty by that you join that wicked person. But we know that 18,500 Jews joined that feast. And on that feast, that's when the decree. But that's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu got cross and the decree on the Jewish people start. Let's go to verse 12 and let's see what's happened in verse 12. Verse 12 speak about the Queen Vashti. Look what it says in verse 12. ותמאן המלכה ושתי לבוא בדבר המלך, אשר ביד הסרסים, ויקצוף המלך מאוד, וחמתו בערה בו.
But Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment, conveyed by the chamberlain. The king therefore became very incensed, and his anger burned in him.
Okay. Pshat of the dvarim, we're learning in the Megillah that Vashti refused to come to the feast, and the king Ahashverosh got so cross, and the anger started boiling, it started to cook. But many of the Mefarshim ask, wait, I don't understand. Because Vashti refused to come to the feast, is that a good alibi to kill her? To sentence her to the punishment of death? I mean, really, if you think about it, because someone refused to come to a party, okay, you cross with her, you can argue with her, you can fight, I don't know what. But from getting cross to kill her, there have to be a reason. So we try to explain what was the reason, number one. But first of all, let's see what's happening. The Mefarshim explain that it was an argument between all the ministers of Ahasuerus, which woman from which country she's the most beautiful. Everyone say my country, his country, you know. Ahasuerus say in the end, you all to choose. When you see the Queen Vashti, when you see my queen, you see what it means beauty. And then let's talk. That's pshat of the dvarim. But listen to that, how evil and unmorality those people was. They said to him, in that case, we want to see her naked. Huh? To tell that to the king, to see his wife naked. How dare you? The opposite, King Ahasuerus was happy. He was happy to show his wife naked. He spoke to Vashti. Vashti agreed to it. Listen to that. She agreed to sit in the feast naked, believe it or not. She agreed to it. But here comes the problem. Rashi HaKadosh, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzhaki explained, he born in the city of Troa. Remember we explained? He explained that the main reason that suddenly Vashti changed her mind and refused to come to the feast for two reasons. One of the reasons, because she got leprosy all over her body. Another opinion, that a tail grew on her back, by her back, by the lower back. So Vashti said, how can I come naked? Everyone will see that I have a tail. Everyone see that I'm full of leprosy. Rashi explained, you know why does it happen that she had leprosy? Because Vashti, one of her decree was, listen to it, she used to take Jewish women and she used to make them work in her house in a palace on Shabbos. But here comes the key, naked. That Jewish women have to work in a palace in front of everyone, from the cleaners, the cook, whatever you call, they have to be naked, and dafka on Shabbos. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'll deal with you, Vashti. You made my daughter naked to work on Shabbat? I'll deal with you. You're going to die on Shabbat. So King Ahasuerus couldn't understand why Vashti refused to come naked. They agree on it. Vashti morally was worse than King Ahasuerus. She didn't care. But when she found that she had a tail, when she found that she had a leprosy, she was embarrassed to come. Until here is drash of the dvarim. But there is a deeper that Hazal explained. Why did she really refuse to come? The Mefarshim explain like this. That when she told the king that she's not going to come, the Mefarshim explained that she explained to him that she's not feeling well. She explained to him the situation. At those, so the king Ahasuerus said to come. She got so cross. She came in front of all of his ministers, all of his servants, all of the people from all different delegations from all different countries, and humiliated the king Ahasuerus. She said to him, you used to be the horse keeper of my father. And now that you drank little bit wine, you got drunk and you start to chirps and you start to talk nonsense. My father used to drink 1,000 cups of wine, never got drunk. You, aren't you embarrassed? Shame on you. You're not even from the royal family. You gonna tell me, a princess, what to do? How dare you? Who you think that you are to speak to me like this? You are the keeper of the horses of my father. Don't forget that, where you come from. Now, Rabotai, imagine the embarrassment that King Ahasuerus people. That was the talk of the day. That what made Ahasuerus cross, and that's when he decided, and later on, with the help of Haman, Memuchan, Hazal say, מי זה ממוכן? who's ממוכן? שמוכן לפורענות. המן שמוכן לפורענות. That was Haman. Haman given him the idea to kill Vashti. And he accepted it. And by the way, just for general knowledge, Ahasuerus, when he came, wake up, from he was papalas. When he wake up, when he become clear mind, he never forgot for Haman. We'll explain it, Be'ezrat Hashem. And that what caused that embarrassment in publicly that made Ahasuerus to kill Vashti. Let's go to verse 14. Verse 14 is something very interesting. And let's see what it says. Look, in verse 14, it says in the Megillah like this, sorry. והקרוב אליו קרשנה, שתר, אדמתה, תרשיש, מרס, מרסה, ממוכן, 7 סריסי פרס ומדי, רואה פני המלך, היושבים ראשונה במלכות.
Those closest to him were Kashena, Shepha, Atmata, Tarshish, Meres, Marasena, and Memuchan, the 7 officers of Persia and Media, who had access to the king, and who sat first in the kingdom.
What does it mean, access to the king? We have to understand what does it mean, access to the king. Rabotai, that's the key word.
Access, yes.
That means the Mefarshim explains something important, something that we have to understand. And they were sitting on a front. We have to explain that verse. Not many people understand it. Ahasuerus had 7 ministers that only them can see his face. All the rest can never see the face of Ahasuerus. Ahasuerus have a veil over his face. And when they have a meeting, a government meeting, they used to put a mechitza. What does it mean? They used to put kind of a divide between him and his 7 main advisors, and they only can see his face. All the rest, the people, all the rest of the advisor can never see the face of the king. Why? It's to show respect to the king. By the way, today in the Far East, there is still certain king that only the queen, his family, and certain advisors that can see the face of the king. Other than that, no one can see his face. You have a veil and it's cover his face, no one allowed to see. The Megillah tells us in this verse the name of the 7 people, that they was his right-hand ministers. Not only that, that they was sitting right in the front of him when it was a big public meeting or government meeting, and they can see him. The rest couldn't see him. Why? Because it was like a curtain, like a mechitza, that he used to speak to, and the rest couldn't see him. But we read this verse, and we doesn't understand that that the king Ahasuerus, his face was always covered, and no one can see his face. I would like to jump now and to go to verse let me see here, verse 22. Verse 22, yeah. Sorry, chapter 22, verse 22. Ken, 22. No, verse 21. Sorry, verse 21. Chapter 22, chapter 2, verse 21. I repeat, chapter 2, verse 21. Look what it says. בימים ההם, ומרדכי יושב בשער המלך, קצף בגתן ותרש, שני סריסי המלך משומרי הסף, ויבקשו לשלוח יד במלך אחשוורוש.
In those days, while Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, Bigtan and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, of the guardians of the threshold, became angry and plotted to lay hands on King Ahasuerus.
In this verse, we learn that there is a plot here to assassinate the king. Who was those ones that going to assassinate him? It was the personal bodyguard of the king. The Megillah tells us that they got cross, but the Megillah doesn't tell us why they got cross. The Megillah tells us who they was, Bigtan Vateresh. How did they found out that they're guilty? Mordechai. What's happening here? We have to understand something very important before I start. Bodyguard of a king, of a prime minister, of a president, he's the one that's willing to take the bullets to save the king. That means they're supposed to be the most loyal person in a life of a king. And here come two of his bodyguards, but supposed to be the most loyal, and got cross with the king, wanted to kill the king. Why? The Megillah doesn't tell us. To understand that, we have to go to the Gemara in Masechet Megillah, page 13, folio 2. And to understand what suddenly came in the head of Bigtan Vateresh to kill the king Ahasuerus. Hazal explained that first of all you have to understand who was Bigtan Vateresh. Bigtan Vateresh used to speak, they used to say, they used to speak a language, a very ancient language that even in their time, no one understands. Sfata Tursit. Tursit, it was a language that hardly people kept it, hardly people knew about it. It wasn't even in use in their time. It's a very ancient language. And Bigtan Vateresh, they spoke the language, but they didn't know that Mordechai, that was the head of the Sanhedrin, can understand the language. Why? Because they have so much confidence that no one speaks that ancient language, and no one know it, no one will understand. So they spoke freely next to Mordechai. The Sanhedrin, if you become a member of the Sanhedrin, just for general knowledge, you have to speak 70 languages. Mordechai, that was the head of the Sanhedrin, not only that he spoke 70 languages, he was Balshan. They call him Mordechai Balshana. That means that he was specialized in languages. And Mordechai was sitting and listening to the plan that they're planning to poison the king, to put in his drink poison. Mordechai told Esther. Esther told the king. The king waited for them. They found them guilty and they killed them. Okay. But the question that we all have to understand, what make Bigtan Vateresh so angry that they're planning to assassinate the king? They're the most loyal people. What made them so cross? Hazal in the Gemara explain like this. From the moment that Esther became the queen, King Ahasuerus couldn't leave her alone. He used to sit and speak with her all night. While you're speaking, you become thirsty. Not only that, you want some fruit, you want something to eat, you want something to drink, you know. You need to go to the toilet, they need to go with you. Until now, they didn't have any problem. Why? Because part of the duty was at night, okay? And then the king go to sleep, and some of the time they sleep, some of the time they show like they're patrolling, etc. Most of the night they were sleeping. Since the new queen came, the king doesn't give them a minute peace. Every minute he asks them, go bring me water, go do that, come with me here, go with me there. They couldn't sleep at night. It drove them mad. Said the Gemara, it drove them so mad that they decide that the only solution is to get rid of that king. Otherwise, they're going to die. Or them, or him. Or he going to kill them of exhaustion, or they're going to kill him and finish. One of the two. Said the Mefarshim, the Hazal in the Gemara say like this, that Bigtan Vateresh got to a situation that they said, that's it. If we're not going to kill him, he's going to kill us alive. We're going to die. He's driving us mad. He doesn't let us sleep. What happened? They decided that they're going to put poison in his water and they're going to kill him. Mordechai told Esther that they're planning to put poison in his drink, and that's how they're plotting to kill them. Esther told King Ahasuerus. King Ahasuerus obviously brought someone that drank. I don't know if it was a human being or an animal, and that person died. And that's how they found out what happened with the plot of Bigtan Vateresh. But Ahasuerus said to his advisor, write it in a book of memory. And if you look, Mordechai saved the life of the king, but didn't be rewarded. On a pshat of the dvarim, we see that he didn't be rewarded. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it on purpose that Mordechai not going to be rewarded in this moment. Bezrat Hashem, in the next show, we'll try to explain how is the reward come? How's everything work? Because usually when someone saved the life of a king, the life of the minister, a life of the president, a life of a prime minister, whatever, immediately get some rewards from the king, from the president. Here, the Megillah tell us Mordechai didn't got rewards. Nothing, zult. We'll see Be'ezrat Hashem in the next Shurim what's hiding behind it. But what is the message here? Rabotai, there is a very important message here. I'm going 2-3 minutes over time. And the first thing explain something important. When people feel uncomfortable, that you move them from the normal comfortability, suddenly they can turn to a wild beast. When Ahashverosh push Biktan V'Teresh, although that they got paid for it, that was their job, they got paid for it. But he moved them from the personal comfortability. They become like a wild beast, and they was willing to kill him, to assassinate him. Say Chachmei Musar, you have to learn from here something very important. That you have to learn that when you change people's life or people comfortability, it can make them to a different person. Even to try to assassinate the person that have fully trust in them, pay them, and they supposed to be killed instead of something going to happen to the king. Why? And that's only because they disturb their sleep, they disturb their comfortability. And all that was their job. That's what they got paid, to stay awake all night. But it didn't suit them. Look what a human being can reach if we change his comfortability, Sahaza. Can become a beast or beast. Now with that, we're going to end here for the Megillah because we're 4 minutes already after the time. But Rabotai, we have to understand when we read the Megillah. We read the Megillah, it's looked to us like, number one, when we read it, the Megillah happened, number one, in a matter of few weeks, the story of the Megillah. We have to understand that suddenly the king decided to wake up and he's going to make a big feast out of nowhere. What was the Hidush here? Number two, where's all of those vessels came? Now we know it was a vessel of Bet HaMikdash. We know that the clothes that the king Ahashverosh wear was the clothes of Kohen Gadol from Bet HaMikdash. Now we can also understand why Vashti didn't want to come. And because Vashti didn't want to come, King Ahashverosh wanted to kill him. How come? We understand that on a pshat of that, but when you look in depth, you realize how she humiliated the king. We also explained that King Ahashverosh, only 7 people can see his face, except his family. All the rest of the people couldn't see his face. And that's what it means, Roe HaMelech. We also explain in the end what made the most loyal people that he put his life in their hand, make them try to kill him. Why it make them so cross? And what we can learn from it. But I hope that you enjoyed the show. I hope that when we read the Megillah, you're going to remember all of those ideas, and that will help us to understand when we read the Megillah what's really happened during the time of Purim. Be'ezrat Hashem, that we will hear a good news and we'll see Mashiach Tzidkenu speedily in our day. Amen. Ken Yiratzon. Have a good night, everyone, and thank you once again for joining us for the show tonight.